Donald Trump's chief propagandist, Caroline Leavitt, just had another disastrous press conference in the White House. She talked about how Donald Trump strongly supports Hegseth, even though we now learn that he was also involved in sending classified war plans on Signal text chats to his wife and his brother. Here, watch this.
Before the United States Senate. Let me reiterate, the president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth in the change that he is bringing to the Pentagon, and the results that he's achieved thus far speak for themselves.
Next, Caroline Leavitt attacks the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. She talks about how unhappy Donald Trump is with Powell and tries to blame the major problems impacting our economy on Powell instead of Donald Trump. Play this clip.
I'll have to ask him, and I'll get back to you, Phil.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Some economic questions for you. Kevin Hassett has been a key economic advisor to the president in both of his terms. In 2022...
And he still is.
And he still is.
He was just in my office.
Absolutely. In 2022, he said that the independence of the Fed is super important. That's a direct quote. Is that something that the president subscribes to? Does he still believe in the independence of the Federal Reserve?
Well, look, I think the president has made his position on the Fed and on Powell quite clear. The president believes that they have been making moves and taking action in the name of politics rather in the name of what's right for the American economy. The president has the right to express his displeasure with the Fed, and he has the right to say he believes interest rates should be lower. He believes Americans should be able to borrow money cheaper than they currently are right now. And I also spoke to Kevin Hassett about the Fed as well. And he has called into question the Fed's independence and whether they are actually doing things, again, out of the best interest of the economy, or are they doing it for partisan reasons? The president wants to see interest rates lower. He has made that quite clear.
We've also seen, if I may, I'm sorry, one more, Caroline, just about, I said two economic questions. About the dollar, we've seen the dollar at multi-year lows versus the euro and other currencies around the world. Is it the administration's policy for a strong dollar? How does it view the dollar versus other currencies around the world?
The president wants to see the dollar remain as the world's reserve currency for our long-term fiscal stability and our economic growth. He's been quite clear about that.
I mean, you see the North Korea level of propaganda there, where Caroline Leavitt says, we think that Jerome Powell is playing politics here. Jerome Powell was appointed by Donald Trump. The chairman of the Federal Reserve is not playing politics. He's been very transparent about when interest rates could be cut if it hit the Fed target of 2%. He was on the process of cutting interest rates, and then Donald Trump blew up the economy with his tariffs against the world. And the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, has to deal with the wrecking ball that Donald Trump is taking to the stability and full faith and credit of the United States. Next, Caroline Leavitt addresses a question about how other countries have issued major warnings about tourism to the United States and warning their own people to avoid the United States, or if you go, be aware you might end up in an ICE detention center. Play this clip.
Go ahead. Yes. I'm calling on you.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome.
Over the last few weeks, several countries have warned their citizens about travel to the U.S., and the Department of Commerce's own stats know that show that from a lot of countries, the number of visitors is falling. Does the White House have any message for people that might be reconsidering business or tourism travel to the U.S.?
Where did you see that report?
With the statistics coming from the Department of Commerce.
Said what? It's hard to hear you. Sorry.
That visitors from a lot of countries have fallen in the last 3 months.
I'd have to look at that report to comment on the merits of it. I think most people around the world recognize the United States of America is a great place to do business. It's a beautiful place to visit, and they should certainly come here because it's a much safer country than it was 4 years ago under the previous president.
And see, Caroline Leavitt's like, I'm not so sure about that report. That was actually a report coming from inside the government right now. But that's also why the Trump regime wants to destroy all data, because they don't want transparent reports getting out that reflect, for example, that there are all these advisories about traveling to the United States. But frankly, when it comes to that, you don't need internal data, even though it's helpful to have it. I mean, we can just see that tourism is down significantly. I mean, a Goldman Sachs report that came out recently said there's going to be about a $90 billion hit to the American American economy from all the tourism boycotts from Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and elsewhere. Next, you have Tim Pool, the kind of right-wing disinformation propagandist. He's been invited into the White House, and he shows up wearing like a beanie on his head and like dressed in like a zip up. What the hell is even going on here? Watch Tim Pool, who, by the way, as the Daily Beast headline reads, influencer paid by Russia added to the White House press. Well, no, Tim Pool denies that he knew that his payments were coming from Russia, since it was sent to a third party intermediary and then paid to Pool. But this is who the White House is inviting into the press room. Play this clip.
Many of the news organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland Man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you could comment on the unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure. Well, we certainly welcome diverse viewpoints in this room.
And then even more, one of the things that Caroline Leavitt says with Tim Pool there is that he represents diversity. He said that we welcome diverse viewpoints, and you being here, Tim Pool, shows the diversity and the diverse viewpoints we're welcoming into the White House. What, just having right-wing propagandists is diverse viewpoints? Play this clip.
Well, we certainly welcome diverse viewpoints in this room, which is one of the reasons we have you in here. And there's many new faces in this room in comparison to the previous administrations. We want to welcome all viewpoints into this room. We welcome unbiased journalists who really care about the truth and the facts and the accuracy. And you rightfully pointed out the Maryland Man story, which I, from this podium, when The Atlantic published it on that very first day, I came to this podium and said, this is wrong. The press in this room have this story wrong. And we have seen more and more evidence come to the table that we have had all along. We were always right. The president was always on the right side of this issue to deport this illegal criminal from our community. And it is despicable to see the media continue to refer to this individual as someone who is just a peaceful man living his life in Maryland. This was and always has been an illegal criminal, an MS-13 gang member, and a designated foreign terrorist. And the administration maintains our position to deport these individuals from our community. So thank you for being here, Tim. It's great to see you. Thank you.
And folks, that's what they mean, all along when they, say these things, diverse viewpoints. They're talking about right-wing propagandists and getting rid of diverse viewpoints. That's how these propagandists think, speak, and work. Next, Caroline Leavitt is asked about another question about Hegseth. And then Caroline Leavitt attacks the Pentagon employees, who she said are the leakers. And she says they're the ones who, they're the ones who are really to blame. And she tries to basically blame this as though there are a bunch of like bureaucrats who are responsible for this, when it's actually Hegseth's, handpicked people. These are all Trumpers who Hegseth fired, who, apparently leaked these stories. Play this clip.
On Fox News that the entire Pentagon is working against Secretary Hegseth. But the people who were fired were Hegseth's own guys. So how do you square that, and what do you say to concerns that that's bad management?
They were Pentagon employees who leaked against their boss to news agencies in this room. And it's been clear since day one from this administration that we are not going to tolerate individuals who leak to the mainstream media, particularly when it comes to sensitive information.
Then Hegseth spoke earlier in the day. He held a interview with Fox, and he was just so completely unhinged. Here, watch this.
Why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? So once a leaker, always a leaker.
Here he is again. Let's play it.
What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning.
Yeah, and it should be noted when the Fox host Brian Kilmeade started that interview, he referred to Hegseth as the former secretary. It's a Freudian slip. Play this clip.
Here to set the record straight himself, the current Secretary of State, Pete Hegseth, former host right here on Fox and Friends. Pete,
Hey,
great
Brian.
to see you, Mr. Secretary.
Great to see you.
And finally, let me share with you Democratic Senator from Virginia, Senator Warner. And I think he just sums it up, eloquently that, look, the bottom line is that Hegseth is not meant for this job. He doesn't have the character. He doesn't have the experience. This job is too big for him by leaps and bounds. And Hegseth is showing you who he really is. Here, play this clip.
I think it shows a guy that's way in over his head in a job that's much too big for him. And you saw the little snippet where he fought or pushed back. Well, he didn't deny that he put his family members on this chat. The notion that this is somehow not classified information, the fact that attack plans were being sent out and around before our pilots had actually bombed the Houthis. I would love to take Pete Hegseth down to the Norfolk Naval Station, which is the home port of the aircraft carrier Truman, from which these strikes were launched, and explain to the family and friends of folks on the Truman how this kind of information getting out wouldn't have put their loved ones in harm's way, because he couldn't. And I think it is amazing that he's not been held accountable. I think it's remarkable as well as you see a number of his senior officials quit. And this is an example, again, of chaos on steroids that are coming out of the DOD. And I just wonder, Jose, when are my Republican senator friends who say they're for national security going to say, this is too much, this is just a bridge too far, and join me and others and say this guy needs to be replaced?
Well, there you have it, folks. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.